Chosen one, stop what you're doing right now. What I'm about to reveal in the next few words will completely transform your financial and spiritual life in the coming days. Can you feel it? That restlessness in your spirit isn't coincidence. It's a divine warning. Supernatural multiplication is already happening at this very moment, but only for those who are prepared. Will you let this divine opportunity pass right through your life? Or will you grab with all your might the miracle that already has your name engraved on it? God is about to transform crumbs into mountains in your life, but you need to align yourself with this word right now. Pause this video, like it, subscribe to the channel and comment multiplication to activate this powerful decree in your life. Chosen one, look directly into my eyes. The time of scarcity is over forever. The time of overflowing abundance has just begun. At this exact moment, an extraordinary transformation is happening in the spiritual realm. Celestial forces are moving to create an unprecedented miracle of multiplication in your life. The little you have in your hands, that small business that can barely sustain itself, that modest savings that seems insufficient, that idea everyone considers too small, is about to be touched by the transformative power of divine multiplication. Many look at what they possess and feel deep discouragement because it seems so little, so insufficient, so incapable of generating the impact they desire. But today I declare with prophetic authority, it's not about the quantity you have, it's about whose hands hold what you possess. In God's hands, 5 loaves feed hungry multitudes. In God's hands, small seeds transform into leafy trees that shelter entire nations. In God's hands, what seems impossible becomes not only possible but inevitable. From today forward, you will witness the extraordinary manifesting from the ordinary in every area of your life. That small investment that seemed insignificant will grow inexplicably before your eyes. That small opportunity many despised will unfold into powerful connections that will open doors you didn't even know existed. That small idea you almost discarded will expand and conquer territories you never imagined reaching. When heaven decides to multiply, there is no limit to growth, no barrier to expansion, no ceiling for the manifestation of abundance. What was small becomes magnificent before the perplexed eyes of those who doubted. What was insufficient becomes abundant to the point of overflowing. What seemed incapable of sustaining even a family will now sustain entire communities and nations. This is the manifestation of the supernatural power of multiplication when God decides to act. Chosen one, you need to open your spiritual eyes at this moment. See beyond the visible. See beyond what your natural eyes can capture. The little in your hands is not your final destination. It's just the starting point for the miracle of multiplication that has already begun to manifest in the spiritual realm. God is not interested in how much you currently possess. He wants to know if you're willing to place the little you have in His hands so that the miracle of multiplication can begin. From this moment on, when you look at your limited resources, don't see scarcity. See the divine potential for multiplication already in operation. When you look at your small business that can barely pay the bills, don't just see the current moment of difficulty. See the global empire that's about to be born from this small beginning. When you look at your bank account with numbers that seem insufficient, don't see the current digits. See the zeros that will be added in the very near future. The miracle of multiplication doesn't depend on the initial quantity you possess. It doesn't depend on the size of your beginning. It doesn't depend on the grandeur of your current resources. It depends solely and exclusively on your willingness to surrender the little you have into the hands of the divine multiplier. God is waiting for you to say yes to initiate the process of supernatural multiplication in your life. He is awaiting your consent, your willingness, your confident surrender to transform little into much. Receive this prophetic word being sealed in your spirit at this very moment. From this day forward, everything you touch will be multiplied. Your talents will be multiplied beyond what you imagine. Your financial resources will be multiplied in ways that will defy human logic. Your connections and relationships will be multiplied, opening doors you didn't even know existed. Your projects, no matter how small, will be multiplied and reach dimensions you never dreamed possible. It is the divine moment of supernatural expansion in your life. You've been waiting for this moment. You've prayed fervently for this moment. You've fasted, cried out, and sought this moment. And now heaven responds with the miracle of multiplication upon everything your hands touch. What seemed too small to be noticed will be exalted and magnified before everyone. What seemed insignificant to human eyes will become a powerful manifestation of divine glory that no one can deny. What you started with just a few cents will transform into a financial empire. What you began in a small space in the back of your house will expand to facilities that will be a reference in your city. What you started serving just a few clients will grow to serve multitudes. This is the manifestation of divine multiplication power being released upon your life at this very moment. The time of multiplication has come for you, chosen one. It's not just a distant promise for an uncertain future. It's a reality already in full operation in the spiritual realm. And in a matter of days, you'll begin to see with your own eyes in the natural realm. Prepare yourself to witness the little transforming into much before your eyes. Prepare yourself to see limited resources generating unlimited results. Prepare yourself to contemplate the power of divine multiplication manifesting in every area of your life. At this moment, a divine revelation is being implanted in your spirit. Faith is the celestial catalyst that activates supernatural multiplication in your life. It's not the size of your initial resource that determines the magnitude of your harvest. It's the size and quality of your faith. Faith is not just a spiritual virtue, it's the primordial seed of abundance, the activating principle that transforms scenarios of scarcity into lush landscapes of unlimited prosperity. At this exact moment, a divine frequency is being released over your life. A powerful frequency of growth, of accelerated expansion, of exponential multiplication that is reorganizing the molecular structure of your reality. To fully capture this celestial frequency, you need to tune your faith to the right station. You need to abandon the tuning of doubt, fear, and unbelief. You need to believe vehemently before seeing the results. Trust fully before receiving the manifestation. Declare courageously before contemplating the materialization. Divine multiplication operates according to principles that completely transcend the laws of human mathematics. In limited earthly mathematics, 1 + 1 is always equal to 2. But in celestial mathematics, in supernatural mathematics, 1+, God can equal 1,000, 10,000, numbers your mind can't even conceive. This supernatural operation, however, is only activated when faith enters the equation as the definitive multiplier of all resources. Many chosen ones are losing their multiplication miracle at this very moment because they're staring fixedly at the colossal size of the problem instead of contemplating the infinite grandeur of their God. They're meticulously calculating with the limited mind instead of fully trusting with the expanded heart. They're planning with earthly logic that says this is impossible instead of positioning themselves in supernatural faith that declares everything is possible for those who believe. From today forward, you need to adopt a new spiritual posture, the posture of unwavering faith that challenges impossibilities. When you look at your resources that seem so limited, don't allow your heart to shrink before what you see. When you face your financial challenges that seem like insurmountable mountains, don't let paralyzing fear take over your being. Instead, immediately apply the transformative principle of multiplying faith. Multiplying faith is a spiritual dimension that sees abundant harvests where others see only small seeds. Multiplying faith perceives infinite oceans where others can see only insignificant drops. Multiplying faith contemplates superabundant harvests where others see only arid and apparently infertile terrain. This faith is not naivety. It's a direct connection to the reality of the supernatural realm that is already manifesting what your natural eyes cannot yet see. Chosen one, you are hearing this message because you were divinely selected for a supernatural transfer of resources. But this celestial transfer will only occur in its fullness if you create a faith-saturated environment around you. Faith is the extremely fertile soil where the seeds of multiplication abundantly flourish. Faith is the propitious atmosphere where the miracle of multiplication thrives without limitations. From this moment on, you need to begin declaring supernatural multiplication over every area of your life. Declare with authority over your work, "I am in full process of divine multiplication." Declare with conviction over your investments, "Supernatural multiplication is acting right now on every cent I've invested." Declare with certainty over your projects, "The unlimited power of divine multiplication is transforming little into much before my eyes." Your words carry extraordinary creative power when they are driven by unwavering faith. What you declare today with absolute conviction will manifest tomorrow with undeniable evidence. What you prophesy now with absolute certainty will soon materialize with overflowing abundance. Your declarations of faith are creating the bridge that connects the spiritual reality of multiplication with your physical reality. The faith that activates multiplication is not a passing feeling or a momentary emotion. It's a permanent posture that remains firm even when circumstances suggest otherwise. It's an unshakable spiritual positioning that says, "I know with absolute certainty that my little will be multiplied because I fully trust in a God who specializes in supernatural multiplication. I know without any shadow of doubt that my seemingly limited resources will be extraordinarily expanded because I am directly connected to the unlimited and inexhaustible source of all provision." When Peter cast the net into the sea after a whole night of catching nothing, he activated the principle of multiplication by faith. When the widow poured her last oil into empty vessels, she activated the principle of multiplication by faith. And now it's your turn to activate this same supernatural principle over your resources, over your business, over your talents, over your finances. Chosen one, the multiplication process has already begun in the spiritual realm. Faith is the powerful bridge that will bring this transcendent reality to your natural world. Keep your faith constantly activated, keeping your spiritual eyes fixed not on the present scarcity that tries to intimidate you, but on the promised abundance that is already on its way. This is the definitive key to releasing the miracle of supernatural growth that already has your name engraved in the celestial realm. A prophetic declaration of transformative power is being sealed upon your life at this very moment. Nothing will be small from now on. An extraordinary anointing of greatness is being abundantly poured out upon everything your hands touch. A supernatural atmosphere of accelerated expansion is completely enveloping every project you start, every enterprise you conceive, every idea that springs in your mind. The time of crumbs in your life is definitively over. The season of scarcity that limited your dreams is forever finished. The cycle of limitation that kept your potential imprisoned is irrevocably ended. From today on, you enter a completely new dimension, the dimension of divine greatness, where everything expands exponentially, everything grows acceleratedly, everything multiplies supernaturally. People around you will be absolutely perplexed by the impressive speed of your growth. They will incessantly question how that small business that could barely sustain itself transformed almost instantly into a prosperous and influential company. They will be deeply intrigued about how that seemingly simple idea conquered entire markets, almost overnight. They will desperately try to understand, through analyses and theories, how that small investment that seemed insignificant generated such extraordinary returns in an incredibly short period. The answer to all this amazement is simple and profound. When the supernatural power of divine multiplication is activated over a life, there are no natural limits, physical barriers, or earthly obstacles that can contain or restrict it. It's a celestial force that breaks seemingly insurmountable barriers, shatters crystallized impossibilities, and establishes new levels of prosperity that defy human understanding. Carefully observe each area of your life in the coming days and weeks. That client who always made small, almost insignificant orders will suddenly begin to make orders so large that you'll need to expand your capacity to serve them. That project that seemed to be progressing slowly, almost dragging, will suddenly gain such surprising speed that it will leave everyone amazed. That opportunity that initially seemed modest and limited will unexpectedly unfold into doors much larger than you could ever imagine possible. This is the unmistakable manifestation of the divine Midas touch being released upon your life. But instead of simply transforming everything into gold, as in the Greek myth, this divine touch transforms the small into magnificent, the insufficient into superabundant, the limited into unlimited, the ordinary into extraordinary. It's the supernatural gift of expansion being poured out upon every dimension of your existence. Chosen one, you have been carefully selected to be a bearer of the celestial anointing of accelerated growth. Everything you touch will grow exponentially. Everything you lead will expand impressively. Everything you bless will multiply abundantly. Your own spiritual DNA has been divinely altered in the last 24 hours. You now carry within you the sacred code of supernatural expansion. From this moment on, you need to begin thinking in much larger dimensions. Small dreams no longer fit in your spirit. Limited visions no longer find resonance in your soul. Modest goals were left behind in your journey. The time has come to dream big, to plan expansively, to visualize what seems impossible to earthly eyes. When others around you say discouragingly, "This is absolutely impossible," you will respond with unwavering conviction, "For my God, nothing is impossible." When pessimists try to limit your vision by saying, "Be more realistic, keep your feet on the ground," you will respond with authority, "My realism now is supernatural. My feet are firmly planted on divine promises." Never again be content with the small when you were divinely called to the magnificent. Never again accept the minimum when you were celestially destined for the maximum. Never again settle for enough when you were supernaturally anointed for overflowing abundance that will benefit not only you, but entire generations. This is not an empty promise based on positive thinking. It's a profound transformation that is already in full progress in the spiritual realm. The divine seed of greatness was supernaturally planted in your spirit at this very moment. In the coming days, weeks, and months, you will witness amazed the vigorous sprouting, the accelerated growth, and the exuberant flowering of this celestial seed in all dimensions of your life. Ideas that once seemed small will transform into revolutionary projects. Businesses that seemed limited will expand to new territories. Talents that seemed common will reveal themselves as extraordinary. Resources that seemed scarce will multiply supernaturally. This is the manifestation of the prophetic decree. Nothing will be small from now on. Your scarcity mindset is being completely transformed at this moment. Where you saw limitations, now you will see infinite possibilities. Where you perceived obstacles, now you will contemplate divine opportunities. Where you felt fear of lack, now you will experience confidence in supernatural provision. From now on, when you look at what you have, you will no longer see paralyzing limitations. You will see the promising starting point for the miracle of multiplication. Nothing will remain small in your anointed hands. Nothing will continue limited in your blessed life. Nothing will stay stagnant in your journey of accelerated growth. A new era has gloriously begun in your life, the era of supernatural expansion, where little visibly transforms into much before your amazed eyes. Chosen one, prepare yourself fully to become a living and impactful testimony of the transforming power of divine multiplication. In a very near future, people from all spheres of society will come to you with eyes wide open in amazement, incessantly asking, "How did this happen so quickly? How did you manage to achieve so much in such a short period? How did that modest beginning, almost insignificant, generate such extraordinarily magnificent results?" And when that moment inevitably comes, and it will come faster than you imagine, you will know with absolute certainty that it is the divine moment to publicly glorify the supernatural source of your multiplication. You will say with unwavering conviction, with spiritual authority, and with overflowing gratitude, "I witnessed with my own eyes little being miraculously transformed into much. I personally experienced the transcendent power of supernatural multiplication in every dimension of my life. I intensely experienced the extraordinary transformation of the apparently insignificant into something absolutely extraordinary." What the materialistic world desperately tries to classify as mere statistical coincidence, you will know with crystal clarity was pure manifestation of divine providence. What skeptics around you will try to superficially label as luck or chance, you will deeply recognize as tangible expression of supernatural favor actively operating on your behalf. What many analysts will try to exhaustively explain through complicated economic theories or market principles, you will fully understand as the unmistakable manifestation of the celestial power of divine multiplication. Your personal story of transformation will become a powerful seed of faith deeply planted in the heart of countless people who cross your path. Your living testimony will be tangible and incontestable proof that the seemingly impossible quickly becomes possible when the supernatural power of multiplication is activated by faith. Your extraordinary journey will inspire multitudes of people to firmly believe that their own limited resources can be divinely transformed into overflowing abundance. What was so small and insignificant in your life that almost no one even noticed will now be so magnificent and impactful that absolutely no one will be able to ignore or deny. What was so modest and common that rarely received any attention or recognition will now be so extraordinary and impressive that it will constantly attract admiring and astonished glances. What was so limited and insufficient that could barely sustain your basic needs will now be so abundant and overflowing that it will generously allow you to bless many others around you. Chosen one, your life is being strategically positioned as a divine billboard, a living and impactful advertisement of the transforming power of supernatural multiplication. People will look amazed at your trajectory and say with deep conviction, "If God accomplished something so extraordinary in his life, he can certainly do the same for me." Your personal testimony will become a powerful catalyst of multiplying faith, awakening renewed hope in the hearts of those who still struggle daily against paralyzing scarcity. In a very near future, you will have such extraordinary stories to share that they will seem completely surreal, even to you who experienced them. Divine moments when doors that seemed permanently closed opened inexplicably before you. Supernatural occasions when abundant financial resources suddenly appeared from totally unexpected sources. Miraculous situations where small, seemingly insignificant opportunities quickly unfolded into magnificent achievements that impacted multitudes. Your living testimony will not be limited only to the financial and material dimension. It will be a multidimensional testimony about how the transforming power of divine multiplication touched every aspect of your existence. Relationships that were deteriorated were supernaturally restored and miraculously strengthened. Talents that seemed common were divinely amplified and extraordinarily enhanced. Your sphere of influence, which was extremely limited before, was supernaturally expanded far beyond what you could ever imagine possible. From this sacred moment on, you need to begin methodically recording each tangible manifestation of the power of multiplication in your life. Meticulously note each visible evidence, carefully document each miracle experienced, consistently photograph each tangible proof of supernatural multiplication. This meticulous record of your testimony will become an extremely powerful tool to encourage countless other people to activate the same transforming power of multiplication in their own lives. Soon, you will look back on your journey and barely recognize the modest starting point from where you began. So distant and contrasting it will be from the place of extraordinary abundance where you will find yourself. And in that moment of reflection, you will vividly remember this prophetic word being released over your life, and will know with absolute certainty that it was precisely at this divine instant that the supernatural cycle of multiplication began to operate powerfully in your life. What began as a small seed of faith in your heart will transform into a leafy tree of testimonies that will bless multitudes. What started as a small step of obedience will result in a legacy of impact that will cross generations. What seemed insignificant to human eyes will reveal itself as the beginning of something extraordinary that will glorify the name of the God who specializes in transforming little into much. Chosen one, what is about to happen in your life completely transcends the parameters of conventional mathematics and the expectations of human logic. We are not talking about a simple common multiplication, a predictable growth that follows established patterns, or a calculable expansion according to traditional metrics. What is coming your way is an absolutely supernatural proportion of growth that will defy all natural laws. In the limited mathematics of the natural realm that governs the visible world, if you diligently plant a single seed, you naturally harvest a single plant. If you cautiously invest 10, you normally receive 11 or 12 as a return considered reasonable. If you dedicatedly work for an hour, you generally produce the equivalent of 60 minutes of expected result. This is the ordinary mathematics that governs the existence of most people who live only in the natural dimension. But when the supernatural proportion is divinely activated over your life, all these limiting rules are completely broken and a new operating system is established. You enter a celestial dimension where natural laws are suspended and supernatural principles begin to govern your reality. From this sacred moment on, you will powerfully enter the spiritual dimension where small seeds of faith produce miraculously hundredfold harvests that defy any explanation. Where seemingly modest investments generate exponential returns that leave financial experts completely perplexed. Where humanly limited efforts result in monumental achievements that would normally require much greater resources and much more extensive times. This is the revolutionary mathematics of the supernatural realm, where 1 plus God can result in virtually infinite multiplication. Prepare your spirit to witness an unprecedented acceleration in your finances, a speed of growth that will defy all conventional projections and reasonable expectations. What would normally require years and years of consistent effort to fully develop will miraculously happen in a matter of months before your amazed eyes. What would typically demand entire decades of hard work to firmly consolidate in the market will solidly establish itself in a matter of few years or even months. This is the tangible manifestation of the divine principle of supernatural proportion being released over your life. We're not just talking about growth, we're talking about explosive growth that breaks all limits. We're not simply talking about expansion, we're talking about accelerated expansion that surpasses all expectations. We're not merely talking about development, we're talking about development on such an extraordinary scale that completely defies human comprehension. Chosen one, you need to start right now preparing physical, mental, and spiritual space to receive this exponential multiplication that is already on the way. Drastically expand your vision to adequately accommodate the colossal size of the blessing that is arriving at high speed. Significantly expand your mental containers to hold the impressive volume of prosperity that is being abundantly poured out. The worst tragedy that could happen would be the divine miracle of multiplication being improperly limited by the restrictive smallness of your expectation. In a very near future, you will witness amazed how small, seemingly insignificant steps of obedience trigger gigantic avalanches of blessings that will completely transform your reality. You will see astonished how small, genuine acts of generosity result in enormous harvests of divine favor that will surpass all your expectations. You will observe perplexed how small seeds of faith, planted at the right time and in the proper soil, produce leafy trees of supernatural manifestations that will bless entire generations. The supernatural proportion does not operate according to limited human expectations. It extraordinarily exceeds them. It doesn't function according to pessimistic human projections. It gloriously surpasses them. It doesn't develop according to restrictive human timelines. It dramatically accelerates them. Imagine planting a small seed and, instead of harvesting a single plant, harvesting an entire field. Imagine investing a small amount and, instead of receiving a modest return, receiving a return multiplied by 1,000. Imagine releasing a word of faith and seeing that word trigger a complete transformation in situations that seemed absolutely impossible. This is the operation of supernatural proportion in your life.